And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're going to be taking a look at Hegemonic, Explore, Build, Flight, Plot. This is a 4X game, I guess, except here it's a EBFP game. A game where you take over the galaxy. It has really beautiful components. It's done by Minion Games. I heard about this game probably 2 years ago. Someone had played the playtest version and came and told me what an exciting game it was, and they were looking forward to it. So I was certainly eager to try it out. I certainly have a cadre of people here in my gaming group who like 4X type games. So what did we think? Here we go. Alright, here's an example of a 4-player game that's set up. Now, one of the things I want to talk here is I'm not going to go over every rule to this game. I'm just going to give you some impressions of how the game works. You're going to set the game up for 3, 4, 5, or 6 players, and you will be using these boards here. And you can see you can set them up in different ways. But these boards matter because they have hexes where new areas can be placed, but they also form like regions that you're trying to control for victory points. Now the game is going to revolve around a series of turns, and in each turn you're going to move this around. Collection is the first thing you'll do each turn, where you'll get money. Expansion, where players are going to be using tiles from their hand or next to the board to place new tiles out on the board where they can expand to. And then there's action 1, 2, and 3, where players will be playing cards, and then arbitration, where players will be fighting one another and basically cleaning up at the end of a round. Each player has a player board. You can see here, this is one of the things I really like about this game, is that there's indentations on these player boards, so that as you have these different bases here, you have complexes. This is industrial, and this is made of almost a rubbery plastic. It's actually the nicest piece in the game. Then we have these embassies, which have political power, and then outposts, which have martial power. You also have some agents. They work with your embassies, and you have fleets. They work with this, and then you have some gates that you can put out on the board. Now, each of these things has some numbers on it. At the beginning of each turn, you're going to get money based on the highest of each empty spot. So at the beginning of the game, you'll get 9 money cap, it's called, per turn. But if I built this, then it would be 3 plus 3 plus 4, so that would go up to 10. And so you can see that if you have everything on the board, you would be getting 30 a turn, although I'm not sure that's even possible. At the bottom is a red number, and that number is a cost. That's how much it costs to put those out, so the more you put out, the higher the cost gets. And as you take these off, you're also going to notice that underneath them, there's a number. That's how much money you can keep between turns. If you know, you'll see the first one's in infinity. But after that, what you'll do is you'll look at the highest number that the lowest number you can see, which in this instance is an 8. If this one was taken off, still an 8. But there's a 6. And that's how much money you can keep between turns. Now you're going to be using cards to put these things on the board. During the 3 card phases, players are going to be all playing a card simultaneously. You reveal them, and then you'll do them in numerical order, so ones will go first, etc. And each card lets you do different things. Many of the cards they have different actions. You can always take a basic action where you take money. Or you can assault, you can attack somebody with different powers. For example, here, you can attack somebody. Industrial power can attack political by liquidating them, or military can attack industrial by raising it. So this lets you do that. Industrialize here lets you build more industries on the board, or you can try to take over somebody else with industry. You can attack other industry. You have martialize and politicize, which is basically the same thing, but you're doing it with military or politics. You have subvert, which lets you take over people. Instead of destroying their stuff on the board, you can take it over. And then you can discover, which gives you more money or lets you put out more things. So these are different actions that players will be taking. Now, as you're building things on the board, you can build in these different spots, and each thing acts a little bit differently. Industrials are placed in the squares, and if you have a spot where there's multiple industrials in the same area, they will add their power together. So the more industrials, the better. Each of these things has a range too, so they'll be able to use their power to affect bases around them. Politics is different. Politics, each politic area, if you'll notice, has a different color background. See, this one's purple and this one's yellow. If you have them on the same color background, they can all help each other no matter where they are on the board, because there are 3 different races. And they can be pretty powerful. You can see, while industrials are almost always a 1 in power, this politic here is a 3 in power. And then military has the unusual thing here, where it can start with no power, but these are the only ones that you are allowed to stack on top of each other. So you can stack them and make them more powerful. And as the game progresses, you're going to be able to build fleets, which you'll be able to move 3 spaces around the board to help out in different things. And you'll be able to build agents who can move pretty much anywhere they want on the board, but they have to pay for each red line that they cross. So many times you're going to be making an attack on someone for that, and for that you're going to be using cards. Cards are used for 2 different things. They're used for technology, and that's what the top half of the card is. You'll notice that they're tied to politics or martial or industrial, and they also have a tier. Both of these are tier 3. You can build technologies. You have 3 slots for technologies, and when you build a technology, you can always build the level that you are in on your board. So, for example, you see here, I would be in level 2 of industrial, and I'm actually in level 2 of all 3 of them at this point in time. So I could have built level 1 or 2 in any of them. If you have a level on the board, let's say I had a level 2 martial tech on my board already, I would be able to play at level 3. Once you have a tech of a type, you can go 1 higher than that when building new ones. And these technologies give all different kinds of powers to you. You know, for example, your fleets give an extra power in this one. Your agents can do special things with this one. Here, if you want your gates, but you can put gates out on the board, and it makes 2 spaces basically adjacent to each other. And you can shoot people's gates up, but you can pay money to relocate it to another position. So these are some of the examples. Now in combat, you're going to add up your strength on the board, which is done by comparing anyone who has power within that person's range, adding up the different power amounts, and then each player is going to play a card from their hand and add the number on that card that is, works with that power. And I believe the highest power is 8 on these cards, and the lowest is 2. There may be some ones, but definitely the highest one is 8, and I think the lowest is 2. And so you'll add that to your power, and whoever has the most wins. And if it's an aggressive, you blow the thing up, and if it's a takeover, you switch it with your own. At the end of each round, after players are done with these cards, they're going to be scoring points, and points are going to be scored for whoever has the most in each region, and the second most, and if you're even in a region. And if you're the only person in a region, you get points. And some technologies might get points, and there's a few points for other things. And those points are kept track of over here on this point board, where each player will put 2 markers to count up to 50, and once you get to 50, you put the other marker on the board. So that's basically an overview of how the game works. You will continue going back and getting points and going after each other. And there are a few optional things. There's one I want to show you that's pretty critical. Each player can start with a different leader. There's plenty of different leaders that are in the game. And at the beginning of each round, your leader has 3 special abilities on them. You'll slide it down 1. So on the first turn, you'll slide it down to ability 1. And you can use any ability that you can see on your turn, but then it slides all the way back. So, for example, here, this level 1 ability lets me look at the top 3 tiles here, and I can choose one to play. But level 3 lets me relocate my home sector to any empty hex. That's a pretty cool ability, but I have to wait 3 turns before I can use it, while this one I could use every other turn. So these leaders are something that I would think would be worth adding. Speaking of these tiles, when these tiles run out, the game is over, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Also, if everything on the board is covered up and there's no more places to put out tiles, the game will end. You can probably tell at this point from looking at that this is really unlike any 4X game that's on the market. Many 4X games involve you building units, marching those units, chucking dice, fighting one another, blowing things up, getting technology. This has the pseudo feeling of that, but it's really not there. You're not building units, you're building bases all over the place. And these bases don't attack they do attack each other, but they do so in almost a abstract strategy style way, where it's very mathematical. If I have this piece here, and he's doing this, and kind of this, and yes, there's some combat with the cards, but to me the cards is kind of a silly thing, because why would you not just keep discarding cards and such until you get the ones that are very powerful and use those in combat. Why go into combat unless you're sure? Sure, you can be attacked, but when you don't have a card that's the right high number, but it just seemed, it's not like you sit there and go, ooh, which card should I play? You play your highest. You can say, but Vasel, there's cool technology in the cards. No, you don't want to lose combat. I get rid of that technology, get another card, use the technology on that one. The technologies are neat too, but this game doesn't have a strong theme in it at all. I mean, it looks thematic. You have this big space board with bases and all these things on it, but it is not there. So I'm telling you this, some people are going to hate this game. I know that because many people I played it with hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Because they expected some big thematic space brawl, and that is not what this is. This is more like a multiplayer abstract strategy game. So you need to understand that going in. I was kind of mediocre on it. I did not dislike it, but I didn't really get that excited about it either. It's all about maneuvering pieces into position, which to me isn't really, it doesn't feel epic, the game. But at the same time, I did like the pieces, and I thought several of the ideas were really cool. Combat was a little convoluted and boring sometimes. The placing piece on the board and moving was like a slow process, and sometimes you could lose control of the whole sector, and it's very difficult to come back when you've been beat down. On the plus side, great components, super fantastic stuff to look at, pretty easy to teach. I love the action card thing. I wish that there wasn't so much on an action card. You're like, well, what are you going to do with that card? And a lot of the action cards were very samey. I would have minded a few more action cards. Leaders are a must. They make the game incredibly better to give each person their own power that they can have. So am I recommending this or not? Okay, here's how this works. I am recommending this for a very small subset of people. Most of you who watch and like my videos will not like this game. I really think that. But there are some people out there. This is almost like a Euro game in space, but it's I don't even know if that's if Twilight Imperium is the Ameritrash thematic game in space, and Eclipse is the Euro game in space, this is the abstract strategy game in space. Think chess in space almost. And I think that's where it ends. I mean, this makes Eclipse look like it's chock full of theme. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I know that some people will be. I just don't think there's many of them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Hegemonic.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There?